with hilarity and opinion with Jamie, Simon and Hutch. The Newcastle Comparison, live weekly on NUFC Talk Radio, on YouTube and in all your listening platforms. NUFC Talk Radio, the voice of the Toon Army.
Morning, afternoon, wherever you may be in the world. Welcome to the Newcastle Comparison. I would say this is probably the most miserable edition of the Newcastle Comparison ever, but one of you, probably Hutch, would correct me and say the most miserable edition of the Newcastle Comparison so far. So yeah, we've had a bit of a day. We are persevering though. I'm Jamie Smith. I have Mr. Simon Carhill with me tonight. Hello, Simon.
Hello everybody.
Hello, Simon. Hello, Ryan from Seattle, and hello, Hutch. The most miserable of all miserable mags, David Hutchinson. How's it going, Hutch? Haven't seen you both for a couple of hours.
How is it going? It's bloody awful, isn't it? It's absolutely bloody awful.
It's pretty bad. So, for posterity, we are live on NUFC Talk Radio. We are available as a podcast that you might be listening to in the days ahead. And we're live on YouTube as well. We're open for super chats and comments because we're going to kind of go off format a little bit tonight and just have a bit of a therapy session about today's latest defeat at the hands of Sunderland. The absolute worst defeat that any Newcastle United fan can have at home to Sunderland, having taken the lead. An insipid, pathetic second half performance to bring about a 2-1 defeat on the back of shipping 7 in Barcelona midweek. So I guess, Hutch, I'm going to come to you first, as I tend to, because I think misery is your forte. But how bad's that? Like, where's that put you on your misery scale?
I'm pretty high on the misery scale, like, to be fair. I said to you earlier on today that I was kind of like, I had like an existential dread that today was going to go wrong, and it just went completely wrong in that second half. They just didn't turn up in the second half. And effectively, it leaves us in a situation where this entire week, both Barcelona and today, it's effectively meant that the season is now over for me. There's nothing really worth getting up about. And, the club will turn around, or Eddie Howe will turn around and say, we have to improve it this next match. But, Bruno came out after the match against the Mackhams at theirs and said that this match now was their most important match and that they would turn up and there would be a response. And there was a response in the first 15, 20 minutes, but then it just fell away. And it leaves us, it leaves our season in tatters, and it leaves us all feeling absolutely awful, having to go to work tomorrow, to see those people from down the road coming in, celebrating in front of us, taking the mick. And we're going to have this now because there's no match for 3 weeks. This is going to be it. And frankly, there's internationals, but no one cares about them. It is going to be this for 3 weeks. And
yeah. The worst kind of internationals, because they're kind of World Cup warm-up friendlies, aren't they? And it's pretty much impossible to get interested in them. 3 weeks today, we play Crystal Palace away in our next fixture, and we've just got to stew on that defeat, on being 12th in the table, on the worst season since the takeover, realistically. Simon, do you agree with that? Is the season a write-off, or is there still a little bit of something to go for there?
We need to win a lot of games towards the end of this, like what's left in what we've talked about, this easy running that's coming up. Today was shocking. Like I haven't felt like that since the last time we lost at home against Sunderland, and it's just not a good feeling. The atmosphere around the ground was just horrid coming out, and I don't like that. It's not what
No.
St James's Park should be like. It's not what the fan base should feel like. It's just ugly and unpleasant, and just people just angry. And it's just not a nice feeling. Yeah, we were so in control at half time. Hutch and I were talking about it. They played like chilled out mood music at half time, and everything seemed a bit like calm and maybe a bit flat. And that seemed to inspire what happened in the second half to some degree. But yeah, it was just shocking. Like, there's no other words for it. Like, you could try and find some positives in it from some of the performances of some of the players, and you could see that people were trying. But it just
Who?
I think
Name these people, Simon. Name these people.
I think Lewis Hall.
I said at the
No,
time,
he
and I'm
always
repeating
does.
it now. I think blaming the halftime mood music is extremely reaching. The only one I heard was
Yeah.
"Life" by the Beatles, which is an awesome tune. And then I went down for a drink. But I don't think you can blame that for the crowd getting on. It was very lethargic in the second half, and you certainly can't blame it for the team. They were 1-0 up, and they had every chance to press home that advantage. But it feels like, this is the thing. This is the problem this season. Whenever they get into a good position, they don't know what to do. They
Yeah.
can't attack a lead. There's this thing of the amount of passing of the ball backwards and across the back four and into Jacob Ramsey and back to Dan Burn and in and out. It's just pathetic. They don't have a plan. They don't take a few chances. Without Fabian Schär there's no like ball over the top, is there? And their goalie, and I'm nicking your point here, Hutch, but I think it was obvious for everybody to see their goalie was a standing goalie. He's pretty poor, and it was mainly O'Nine's fault for the Gordon goal, but he was partly at fault for his ball out that put him under pressure. If we'd have tested him, I think once we got that first goal, they should have read the room and said, this keeper is dodgy. If we have a few goals, one of them's going in. And they just didn't. They just didn't go for it. I don't remember him making a save, whereas Aaron Ramsdale, as I said earlier, he made probably 3 decent saves.
We did, yeah. We don't seem to shoot when we get in those, we don't seem to get in positions where they want to take a shot or they're not risking a shot. Whereas opposition always seem it seems to have lately, they've had opportunities to shoot from distance that they take. We're always passing it wide constantly, recycle, and then nothing. And then that creates an opportunity for the opposition because they tend to have some break that someone puts in a last-ditch tackle or someone makes a save. And that's been the pattern of all those games that we've lost in the same way, the really disappointing ones this season. There is a bit of a pattern there. And I don't know what the fix for that is. Because you want us to control games, you want us to be challenging the teams in front of us, but we just can't seem to come up with something different for those teams that do that low block and breakaway, and that's been our Achilles heel, I think, for a lot of this season.
And that kind of goes
to be fair,
that you made before, which was we've got these so-called easy games on the run-in, but they're these types of games. Brighton and Bournemouth and at home are probably slightly tougher games than playing Sunderland or Brentford or Everton. But it's the same sort of match. They'll play the same way, and we don't have an answer to it. Sorry, Hutch, you were about to say something there.
Well, yeah, I was going to make a similar point, Jamie. We're coming off the back of home defeats against Brentford and Everton, who basically played that exact same way. The whole idea at the present moment in time in the Premier League seems to be you basically defend the front of your goal and you funnel people down the sides. Now, our entire game plan seems to be funneling people down the sides and trying to get a ball into the box where no one at the present moment in time seems capable of getting a goal from a header or a second ball, we don't win those second balls in the box. So what is our game plan? Like, it just makes no sense. And we are massively relying on set pieces, and they were just poor today.
And well, the set pieces are no good. I think it's one of those things when we had a corner ever. There's two things happened. They wrestled too much, and they're just a defensive free kick waiting to happen from a corner, and they don't. It looks like they haven't practiced them. It looks like it's sort of they get the ball and like, what will we do now? Corners, free kicks. Whereas from where we were, there was a bit of a spell in the first half where Sunderland were using a lot of long throw-ins.
Yeah.
And because of that, like when they're getting them in front of you, you started crapping yourself a bit, thinking, is this going to be a goal?
Well, we've conceded a few this season from long throw-ins. They do seem to be a weakness of ours. And obviously today we conceded actually quite a few. Well, we conceded the first goal was from a corner. I've got to admit, I haven't watched anything back again. I can't bring myself to do it. But the first goal, definitely a goal from a corner where it was probably bungled in by someone. But
It was someone
I
bounced it
don't
off
know.
their chest, and then someone got the rebound. Someone tried to score with their chest. Someone cleared it off our line. It won their players, and they knocked it in. It was just a badly defended set piece, essentially.
The second one, I couldn't tell you what happened. It just seemed to go from nowhere, and then again it was bungled in. Obviously we had a disallowed goal, but Simon, you were telling me that Murphy was massively offside.
He was, yeah, no, he was impeding the keeper and offside, so it was rightly
Right.
disallowed.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, just a disappointing day all around, and to top off a disappointing week, you kind of like almost forgive them on the basis that it was Barcelona for shipping that many goals, but really you shouldn't. Like, lots of teams play lots and lots of games, and yet somehow they manage to do it. And
There seems to be an issue with the defence as well with Malik Chow. Like I think he's played some great games for us, but he's got a couple of ricks in him, and
Yeah.
like you said it after the game, Jamie. Like when he came on and Botman went off, the defence seemed just weaker, and I mean, obviously they scored after that happened. But there seems to be something going on there, and I was just like digging for something, like what's going on, because Malik Chow's played the most games for the club out of anybody this year, so he's got.
Have you
44.
researched that, or have you just said that?
I've
off the top of
researched
your
it.
head?
No,
Have
I've
you?
researched it. So he's got 44 total appearances, and that's the next person after that is Sandro with 41.
Okay. Yeah, he's played a lot.
Yeah, so like he must be just like you could see it today, second half. Obviously, Barcelona had an impact. That they were running on absolute few. Joe Linton was barely moving, whereas like Joe Linton in some of the games recently, he's been back to his best, but he just can't keep up that intensity for whatever reason. Now injuries have taken a toll, age, whatever it is. And that team, and someone in our chat group mentioned it as well, the 22-23 team, where we used to beast teams and roll over them. We played less games and we were putting pressure on teams week in, week out. And that's just not there. And today you think of all games, but I don't think you should do that try and do that against Barcelona, because they'll beat you like they did.
That's insightful, mate.
But Sunderland, they're not good enough to play out of that. Like,
Could you not have been back last week with your wise words of careful what you do against Barcelona in case you get battered off Barcelona?
prophetic, but yeah, nonetheless. But yeah, you'd think you want to hunt down Sunderland, you want to put them under pressure, and it worked. Like that Luke 09 Rick came mostly from their own farting around, trying to waste time in the 10th minute of the game or whenever it was. and booting it to one of our players, but also from us being high up the pitch and putting pressure on them. And we couldn't keep that for the entire game, and that's an issue. And to be honest, I think that's a squad issue. I think that's a squad fitness thing. For whatever reason, we've played loads of. I put this stat out before.
Okay, let's just do that a second, because it's a fact that we've played midweek weekend since something mental like the start of November.
Mm-hmm.
Right, that is a lot of games. It's a squad that maybe isn't quite built for that. We've had a couple of injuries, I say that, and that is a part of the reason why some results have been bad. However, it's not the be all and end all. It doesn't excuse what we said earlier about not having an attacking plan, passing it sideways. It doesn't excuse the crappy goals we keep letting in. It doesn't excuse. It's another one of them where people make a joke of the sort of anti-half-time team talk, where they come in. First half wasn't brilliant, but I think we were the better team. We deserved the lead. And it's like, what he said at half-time, that's made them come out and play like that. And all right, we had the Botman thing, right, that seemed to disrupt the flow quite a lot. But how many times has it happened where they've come out and had a terrible second half? And I have done research in between.
Oh, here we go.
But 22 points now. We've dropped from leading positions. And I know it's like churlish to say, what if? But if we'd have held all of those points, if we'd have maintained and won those games that we were winning at various points, in some cases going into like the last few minutes, we'd be second in the table. If we'd have had only half of those points, so if we'd held 11 points, 5th Champions League place. So I think I'm gonna delve into some comments in a sec, but I think one quick question. It's probably better for Simon, but open either of you. Do you see anything positive? Do you see anything in the remainder of this season that it's going to turn out all right? Do you see any reason to be optimistic? Sorry, for anybody out there who might be feeling a little low at the minute.
I think we can all agree we need a break, and this 3 weeks gives us that opportunity to take a freaking breather, because I had a language warning from you last week.
You did.
And hopefully, more than anything, the squad get time to post-mortem what the chuff's going on, sort something out, and put a good run together before the end of the season that gets us into 8th, 7th, something European-ish, because that's going to change the impact of our summer as well. So, look, I think we can win all but one of our remaining games. Arsenal being one.
We can win them all, but
yeah, exactly. I think we're capable, and we need this break.
That's going to happen.
But Simon,
wait, before you jump in, wait. Eddie needs to use this break now because he needs the end of the season to go very well. We can't have another flop like at the end of the last day of the season like we did against Everton last year. We just about scraped into the Champions League. It needs to be smashing through games. The team are up for it. The tactics look spot on. They know how to play together, because there's no excuses about time. There's no excuses about the schedule, all of that stuff. We just need to smash through the rest of this season. And I honestly hope they do. Like I hope that they take what happened today incredibly freaking seriously. If there is, and there's these vibes, like people are posting in the chat here about Wissa posting on Sunderland posts or whatever, and all that kind of stuff. If there's vibes in the squad, that needs sorting out. Like, and no messing around. Okay, so yeah, I think we could end the season. We're going to look at the season as one where it's been the worst. I have no doubt, but we could come away with a glimmer and go into the summer positively, and have the machine in the background ready to go for the summer transfer window, because that is going to be critical.
So yes, well, you touch on it a little bit there, but people might wonder what you're talking about there. But let's have a look at this. Lee Talk sense. Wissa liking a Sunderland post after the match. Get
If
rid of
anybody
that.
can state exactly where that is, rather than it being rumours.
So
yeah.
it's, I know what it is. It's Brian Bobby's post. Is he called Brian Bobby, or imagine making up Sunderland players' names? That's what he's
Brian
called.
Robbie.
Isn't it? Somebody.
Brian Robbie.
Oh, Robbie!
Robbie. Brian Robbie.
Come on, Edmonds, get it right.
No, I think that was our players going on like that. But he posted something on Instagram, I think, celebrating his winning goal, and Wissa has liked it. And I mean, come on, read the room.
Yeah, that's insane.
So, like, that's probably puts a bit of a tin hat on the thing, where you just look at Johan Wissa's entire Newcastle career, and I think a lot of this is going to come back to the summer transfer window. But of all the transfers, and people have said, well, he's no good, Wissa seems to be the one that it's unanimous that he's been a bit of a failure. And if you look at today, he's come on for the last 5 minutes behind a Sula again. He's done precisely nothing, and then he's done this, which suggests his relationship with the club is falling apart. If he's like in our local rivals' post, arguably one of the worst signings we've ever made, says Geordie Dan.
Wasn't there a thing going around a couple of weeks ago when we beat Chelsea that he refused to be a part of the team photograph as well?
Yeah, man, we had a discussion about that. Remember?
I do remember, which is why I'm bringing it up, because we're called the comparison show, and so I'm comparing those two scenarios. With for
why are you
instance, we
framing it as
said
a
not
question?
being in a, because sometimes questions bring out conversation.
Well,
Well,
we're
Captain
not.
Hindsight, I'm not bringing up 22 points that we didn't get.
That's relevant, mate. We're not called the comparison show either. This is called the Newcastle comparison. Everybody, like and subscribe. And but
Support us where you can.
would you just get the point? Would you say he is one of our worst ever signings, or is it still too early? Because if anyone's going to say get rid of him, you cannot sell him in the summer because there's too much money gone on him. No one will have him.
If he's refusing to be a part of
A photograph.
like team, well, it's not just a photograph, is it? It's like a team bonding thing. It's been a team bonding thing since Eddie Howe's first season, where we beat Leeds. Basically, it was only meant to be for that one game, and then it's become a thing afterwards, where we do it for every single win that we get. It is a team bonding exercise. So he's refusing to be a part of a team bonding exercise, and now he is liking our bitter rivals' players' posts when that guy has basically just torn us apart.
Yeah.
So those two things for me are massive red flags. Like, what's he doing? That's just mental. For anyone else, it would just be a no. I mean, could you imagine a Celtic player doing that to a Rangers player's post?
Oh, wow, there's a comparison. But I think, though, you've got to say, has he had the time as well? Has he had the game time? Is that because he shouldn't get the game time? Because of what he's offered when he does play? Or is it mismanagement that he hasn't had the chance when last season he scored like 20 Premier League goals? Should he have had more time, Simon? Or is he just rubbish, man?
I've not seen anything apart from a couple of tap-ins that gives me hope. That's the problem. Like the fact that Asula's coming on before him is there's something in the management team's mind about him, isn't there? I don't see enough about his. I've seen bits of his all-round game. So he's a flick it round the corner, run on, like get the ball over the top to him kind of player. I don't know if that doesn't fit the system at the moment, but we're playing Nick Vultard more than we're playing him because Nick could apparently be a central midfielder on his day. It feels too early to tell. And like if you look at the likes of, I don't know, Wissa's an experienced player, but like classic cases were like Lewis Hall, Miggy, like the players that Eddie's kind of developed into the team that have then come good. Jacob Murphy, like I think if we'd had a better season, he'd be getting more time. But and I think that's the problem at the moment. Everything's bad, and he's doing stuff, and that, like from a PR perspective, doesn't help him. So you can't help looking at it with a glass half empty attitude, I think. So yeah, like I'm just as worried about Vultard. I know you think he had a good game today, but I
do. I think he was probably one of our better players, but that's maybe not saying a massive amount. And he was not involved in the terrible second half as much. Daniel says this is right. Money has been spent poorly this season. Well, last summer, because we obviously didn't buy anybody in January. And the discussion we had after the match was, where did this start going wrong? And I picked a point, Hutch, when we were off on a jolly to Glasgow. We went to the Celtic game, didn't we? And we were having quite a nice time in the pub in Glasgow, and the news leaked through that Alexander Isak had refused to come to Celtic with the team. And that was the first crack. And you sort of sat there and thought, well, maybe this is, you know, something that gets sorted out quite quickly, and it's not a big deal. But you did wonder, is this the start of him spoiling for a move? And that set the tone. Later that day, we lost 4-0 at Celtic. Nick Pope let a silly goal in. There was some crazy defending. And I said that since then, this has been a pretty terrible season. And I respect that we've had a go at all the cups, and the cups have generally been good until we ran into Man City. I respect we've been in the Champions League, we've had some great adventures, but for me, we went to Paris and we did a whole show about the adventure we had there getting there, which ended up on the news. That was brilliant. Take that aside, I've not enjoyed the season at all. I think I could count on one hand the good games. I would name check Everton away, which I went to, which was the only convincing win that springs to mind. Man United at home, which was obviously really exciting with the last minute winner against 10 men. And other than that, all the other wins I think have been relatively uninspiring, quite close.
There was the
City
Leeds
at
one
home earlier in the season.
Leeds, sorry, that was a great game. What did you say, Hutch?
City at home as well.
Well, you mentioned
No
that earlier, but that to me is tainted by the fact that it was the wrong City game to put that performance in, which I know sounds stupid, but I would rather have turned up for the FA Cup game, which was a bit similar to today, in that they played well for half an hour and then let themselves down with a very weak second half.
I just want to pick out a comment from the chat because there's some good points going in. So Connor, with a weird code name, dash at the end of it, you watch Walter banging goals for Germany as a striker, right? So he's calling him out and saying, right, he needs to be playing as a striker. Let's watch that, because I would like to know how you service Walter as a striker. Do you just play it to his feet and hope he scores? I don't think he's one that's going to be feasting off crosses. I know, and someone made this point today, he scored a couple of headers earlier on in the season, but apart from that, he actually looks pretty weak in the air. It seems like part of his game he needs to work on. But if he starts scoring goals for Germany, we need to study that in the summer and then do that.
Simon, he's never stopped scoring goals for Germany. When he plays for Germany, he scores goals.
Right, okay, well, let's look at it then.
Well,
I think
you've made a good point, right? But the Germany manager was actually asked this question this week, and he addressed it. Basically, they said, the question was something along the lines of, are you worried about Nick Vultar's form at Newcastle? And do you think he's been played in the wrong position, being played in midfield? And he basically answered, well, when we played Nick Vultar, he gets into the positions, i.e. 30 yards in front of goal, and he bangs them in every time.
So that was one interesting point today, right? Because at one point I thought he was standing over one of the free kicks, because oh, he took that penalty, right, which was an outrageous penalty. Obviously, then I think he missed one, so confidence was lost. But
Yeah, missed
I
one in the
think
shootout.
technically he can kick a ball, which,
Oh,
but he
that's
just,
useful, isn't it?
but you know what I mean, like but he doesn't. He's not getting in. He's not either being given the ball or being put in a position where he's in a dangerous position, be able to like have a shot at target. So, yeah, putting him in midfield is not the answer. I know we've had to because of the injury problems. No Tonali, no Bruno, and we needed something creative in there alongside like Ramsey's a workhorse, Joelinton being the kick you up the bum enforcer, but. Yeah, we're not getting the best out of him at the moment. So yeah, okay, if that's happened with Germany, great. Okay,
Right.
how do we learn from that between now and the end of the season, or going off in after the summer?
Geordie Dan's put what Nagelsmann actually said, because I think you butchered it a bit, Hutch. He said, as part of the press conference, he was asked about Vultar's goal scoring, and he said, Nagelsmann called out how Dan said, he said he'll be 30 metres from the goal, and that's it, not 80 metres. Don't really do metric, so I'm assuming that's like 80 metres would be what, edge of the our own penalty box or something. But that's pretty much where he is half the time. But yeah, that's the question, right? So last summer, it all started then. We didn't have, let's list the problems. We didn't have a director of football. We didn't have a chief executive. We didn't have a structure there to buy people properly. And then when we did, we went for the wrong people. We went for people who had the right, I think, to aim for £250,000 a week that we can't afford to pay, who wanted to pay for the big legacy clubs that have a history of winning things year on year, and it went wrong. Because and Bremer went to Man United, we wanted him. Later down the line, Ekitike went to Liverpool, which really might end up, that Hugo Ekitike may end up being the thing that does for Eddie Howe at Newcastle, because if they'd have just maybe done the Isak deal, which we're always saying, could we have got him? Did Liverpool just buy him to spite us? And if we'd have given them Isak, they'd have let us have him. Who else? James Trafford going to Man City. Who am I missing out here? I guess when we turned our attention to Sesko, he then went to Man United. And it was completely not fit for purpose. But the players we got in, hopefully they were on the list at first. But there's different degrees of, you're going to have to make them work. You're going to have to make... Nick Vultar, you would hope, with a bit more time, with his summer, that can find where he works in the team, that can put him in a striker's role, that can get someone to play with him, and he continues, because he's already got a good few goals. He recaptures that and he works out. Malik Chow, you highlighted he's got a rick in him, but he's generally been a pretty decent signing. Aaron Ramsey is looking better. There's still that big question mark over Wissa, but can you get some sort of tune out of him as a second striker? Anthony Elanga, I don't know. I don't know if he was the right signing for the club. But that, you need to make them work. You need to replace a hell of a lot of people, because people's getting too old, too past it. And the question is, do you say to Eddie Howe, right, we're going to revamp this team and we want you to build like Howe's Newcastle version 2.0? Or do you say to Eddie Howe, we can't get past the shocking second halves, the shocking defending, the leads thrown away, the fact that you don't seem to be able to coach a team to have a coherent plan of attack? So thank you very much for taking the team forward. We're going in a different direction in the summer. What do you think? How?
Simon, you are very much how in. I'm at the point where I don't really care. Like if he stays, then I want him to improve. But it's how does he improve? I want a coherent plan as to how he's going to improve. And if he goes, then I want it to be for the right person, because, to be fair, people will throw out managers' names left, right, and centre. First of all, you've got to get them here. Second of all, they've got to acclimatise to the team in the area. Like, to be fair to Eddie Howe, it's only when it comes to the derbies that I think he doesn't get it. But when it comes to the derbies, he really doesn't get it. He doesn't seem to understand how big a game this is for us. Like, and I genuinely would have thought he would have, but he doesn't. And he makes comments like, "Oh, we'll go again in the next game," and all the rest of it. It's like, mate, the next game is next year. We've completely balls this up this year. Them down the road, they're going to be loving it. They're 40 points, 40, however many points they've got now. They're in no danger of getting relegated. They're in no danger of getting European football, which would knock up their season next season. And they're just loving it. They're going to plain sail into the summer, absolutely loving it, having had the best season that they could have hoped for. And that is going to grate on us because this has been his worst season. Yep. And yeah, we've had some nice adventures, but we haven't played well. And it's all well and good saying, you can look back at the summer, this is where it started going wrong, blah, 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 blah. It doesn't matter. Like, at the end of the day, you have to find solutions on the hop, and he hasn't done it. And so if he goes, he goes. If he stays, he stays. But we need improvement. And I don't think it's just in the playing squad. He needs to basically look at his backroom squad and say, we're missing this, we're missing this, we're missing this. Tactics is a big thing in football, and we don't seem to understand that. It's really getting on my nerves.
Tell Zinedine Zidane that, because he won the Champions League 3 times without tactics. So,
we had a team of Galacticos.
Oh, wait, man.
Like,
honestly,
Gareth Bale's. Well, exactly, and that is the other side of this as well. There is not one thing. Eddie Howe is not the single reason that we've had a poor season this season. Like, lots of stuff has happened, and we've talked about it multiple times. The engine room behind the club, like the management beyond that, how that's been in flux for the past 2 years, essentially since Staveley left, and then the aging squad, the consistency and fitness of those players that are a bit older. All of these things have come to pass this season, and it's been a hard, it's been a hard season. And then on top of that, Eddie Howe hasn't got every single decision right with managing that changing environment. So look, what I see in the Premier League though is that cautionary tale of Spurs, right, and those clubs that have played the manager roulette and just gone round and round with managers, Man United, and just gone, oh, change it because it's not working, yada yada. Well, it's not necessarily always the manager and a tactic. Yeah, I mean, some of those managers, they lost the dressing room and they and Amarin sticking to his system for so long, like all of that. Yeah, fair enough. But we had I think Eddie Howe has had flashes of getting us exactly where this team should be for the money it can spend and how it can compete in this league. But I think this season there's been too many challenges for him and competing on too many fronts that he's just it's been overwhelming for everybody, not just him, for everybody, for the entire club, fans as well. So I wouldn't go with change now. I would get to the end of the season, see where we're at, and then look at it. But I can see him staying. I can see him staying.
I'd probably agree with that because, you don't need a new manager bounce at this stage because, maybe it might help get you the Europe positions, but it's probably better to make a more considered decision and thereby giving Eddie Howe the last few games to say, right, show at least in these games that you can do something. But
we know he can do something though. It's not like he has to prove himself. He just has to turn around the situation at the moment. He has been a great manager, and I know everybody's really annoyed today. Hard not to swear on these difficult days, But he has been a fantastic manager, and he has shown he's entirely capable of getting performances out of these teams. I think Connor's just put in the chat there that like 22 points. Your point about 22 points lost over the course of the season. That's not all him. That's individual mistakes of players. That's refereeing decisions. And some of it is also tactics and decisions Howe has made. It's been a bad season. But I think he has the capability, if he's got the machine behind him, to turn it around.
I like this from Battle Axe because I've thought this. Did Isak make Eddie Howe look good? And maybe
Great point.
we're simplifying it to say Eddie Howe, but
hang on, just on that point alone, right? Then the opposite is true, if that's true.
Yeah.
And then it's not Howe. So,
was Alexander Isak so good last year that it kind of papered over the cracks of the fact that the team struggled a bit without him to score? I certainly don't think we were leaking as many goals last year. But could you put that down to the fact that they had a target when they had the ball? Get it to the flanks and cross it into Isak. Put it through the middle where Isak can also play with his back to goal, turn somebody and lash one in, or lay it off and get it back off Jacob Murphy or whatever. Did Alexander Isak actually make us look better than we are?
Look at
hang on, no, you can't phrase it like that, because at the end of the day, Alexander Isak was a part of the squad, and Newcastle, to be fair, made Alexander Isak look really good as well, because he's gone to Liverpool and he hasn't. I mean, granted, he's been injury hit, but but he wasn't hitting the heights that he did for us when he started at Liverpool. So the system really suited Alexander Isak, whereas the system doesn't really suit Wissa and it doesn't really suit Vultard. And so as a consequence, we're in this situation where we're yet again talking about the summer, we're talking about what went wrong, then trying to justify it for now. It's just been a crap season. And I don't know what else to say.
Well, that's what I mean. It's not like the How Out thing was wrong, and now is right for some people. And but everybody's looking for one thing, one silver bullet, and it's never going to be the silver bullet that you want it to be. It will then take time to rebuild. We'll start losing games again. That's when you get into the manager churn and spin. Eddie Howe has had this team working at a point where we were competing and successful, and we looked very, very dangerous. Isak was a part of that. He's got to find a different model around the players and look to fill in like the problem areas as well, and the depth in the squad as well, to give the squad a chance. But also next season we're not going to be competing on as many fronts. So no. I think it's at the highest level as well. And we also had this discussion about the Champions League and the quality of it this year. Is that the highest level anymore? But it's
I think you can see some of the teams aren't brilliant quality. Like some of the teams we played in that group are worse than maybe sort of Midland Premier League teams, but still the Champions League. It's still the place to be.
Yeah.
And we're obviously not going to be there next year. But if we get, and that was what we'll do is, because we've got, as we've said, 3 weeks till our next game, and we'll have a little bit of a look at the potential European situation, because in spite of today, it is still feasible. I personally think it's not going to happen because they'll throw away too many points like today. But and probably today's result has been just like a dagger through. But we have got Bruno coming back, which makes us tick. So you never know. But we'll have a little look at the competitions. But in a nutshell, I said, if we get into one of those lesser competitions, you don't have to try as hard in the league phase. You can kind of rest tons of players for some of those midweek games, and you'll get the odd. You'd maybe get like a German team, and then it shouldn't impact your season because as the Champions League does, because in the Champions League you've got to have the same 11 battling it in the Premier League, battling it in the Champions League, rinse and repeat. Whereas you can maybe manage the Europa or the Conference a bit more, and you can win it. So I think, to be honest, I kind of want the season to end. I've not enjoyed it. It's been bad, but I'm keeping a little bit there to say, right, can you galvanise this team to get into a European position? And as I say, Bruno will be back. They'll have a game once a week at the weekend. The only exception will be that the Arsenal game's likely going to be rearranged, isn't it? Because it'll be semi-final weekend. But other than that, every weekend. Why are you making that face, Hutch? It will be. Right, you've got no excuses now. If you can get enough points to get this team into Europe, that's maybe a potential tick in the column. And I think there's people in the chat, I think it's fair to say there's people out there, especially today, who want Howe out to the extent that they will be mad if it comes to the summer and Eddie Howe's still the manager after the World Cup, still the manager at the start of the new season. And that could be a dreadful decision if we continue playing like this without the kind of safety net of the Champions League. It could be that it's a really poor move by Pep. Alternatively, could be you give the example of Tottenham, Simon, whereby they've chopped and changed and they probably regret getting rid of Postecoglou and definitely regret getting rid of Pochettino. And sometimes you are better off sticking. I think the rest of the season does have a slight bearing on it, but right now, it feels like there's just been too much this season. It sticks in the throat for me. Hutch, where are you on this?
What, on the how in, how out thing? Or
basically, yeah. Come. I think we are agreed, and there's people in the chat who are saying, like Howe should go now if he had out about him he'd walk, that sort of thing. But if I think we agree, you keep it like that for the rest of the season without the European excuse. When the season's over, for you, is it even a factor that if we're getting to Europe or not? Do you stick with Howe or do you go elsewhere? And if you could try and listen to the show while you're on it as well, Hutch, that'd be grand, thanks.
Busted.
I was just actually looking at our fixtures and seeing how many of them I actually think we're going to win between now and the end of the season. So, does it factor in for me whether or not we get into Europe? Not particularly. I don't think we will get into Europe, any European competition. Looking at it, Crystal Palace away, I'm not sure whether they play any European fixture just before we play them. Bournemouth at home. When was the last time we beat Bournemouth at home? Arsenal away. Arsenal going for the title. We're not going to win that. I mean, we might beat Brighton, but that's up in the air. Nottingham Forest have something to play for. West Ham have something to play for, and Fulham away. Like, I'm not going to be completely miserable like I was.
I feel like you just were. I feel like that horse has bolted.
Like
I said a few weeks ago, just before March started, I would lose every game in March. To be fair, we've won 2 of them, which I wasn't expecting. We've lost the significant ones.
Yeah.
So
we drew one as well.
Oh, sorry. Did we draw one, Simon?
Yeah.
We drew with Barcelona, which just sort of
has no point because then we ended up.
It was a good game.
I made my point. I made my point at the start, right? If he stays, fine, I'll support him. If he goes, it wouldn't shock me, and I wouldn't massively be bothered, provided that we can replace him with someone of quality. And I don't necessarily trust the people in charge to do that. So
Right.
Honestly, mate, like I'm at such a point now. I don't really care. Like,
yeah, that apathy. Yeah, that's the problem. The thing is, let's get into that because the mechanics of what is going on in the background have gone very quiet, right? There used to be like a great connection or a visible connection between Eddie Howe and the workings behind the scene. Obviously, Amanda Staveley was brilliant for the club as a PR like face to things, but also in selling the club to players and investors. I think she was brilliant, and we that has gone, and that was never replaced. And then obviously there was I've forgotten his name, the guy who went to Man United.
Dan Ashworth.
Thank you very much. The director of football, yeah. And that model seemed to be going somewhere, and that even if I don't know if it was perfect, whatever, at least there seemed to be a good, sensible framework there. That's not clear, and that like the fans don't know what that system is now, and there's a bit of a grey area, and communication isn't that good, and Eddie Howe's the front of everything, and I think it worked better when they all looked like they were all pulling in the same direction, and there was names in chairs, responsibilities, roles, all of that kind of stuff laid out. And I think that's as critical as anything to be solid and in place before we go into a World Cup summer, because the transfer market's going to be a little bit hectic, I reckon. So, like, that hasn't been there, and I think that's a big gap for the club at the moment. And I think when you look at all the other clubs, there's like the Man Uniteds of the world. They're still Glazers out. The English guy is now involved. He's not very popular. He's made some very, very unpopular decisions. The manager turnover is still high. Same thing at Spurs. Like you need that. Like the whole team, when the whole team and the whole club has been pulling together, and we experienced that in those early days of the PIF ownership, it was brilliant. The town was on it. The messaging was really like clear. Everybody was happy. And it was like nothing like the Ashley era, right? Which is my biggest comparison. No. If we can nail that again and get back to that sense of one club, and also that like the mentality thing, and being like called out for poo housing other teams, and like getting stuck into like other teams.
Yellow card for you.
I know. I'm trying my best. Come on, we lost to Sunderland. But yeah, like if you can get the whole city and the whole club working together again, that's the machine that works, not just how out. And I think that that's the bit that I think if we fix, we'll get back on track next season.
The issue is, right, with that whole, intensity is our identity thing, right? It was never going to work when we were playing European football, and so he's tried to change it to a system that they kind of like are a bit in and a bit out. And Jamie, you were effectively saying this today when we were in the Grail, lovely pub, and it doesn't seem like he doesn't seem to have been able to create an identity for the team in this new phase of the evolution of what it is. Now, a lot of that comes down as well to the fact that last summer was awful, and so we've been left with a squad that's Trippier's 35, Shah 34, and has been injured for the vast majority of the season. Dan Burns 33, Nick Pope's 33, Emil Kraft's 31, and has been injured for almost all of the season.
All right, we get
Jacob
the point.
Murphy's 31. But it is now an aging squad. And last summer, I said to you guys last summer, basically this summer needs to be like. It needed that season needed to have been the last dance for those players. It needed to have been, they've just won a trophy, see them off gracefully into the summer to find new projects elsewhere. And because of the Paul Mitchell thing, the worst of the Mitchell brothers, and because of like everything that happened prior to that, and with the Isak thing and all the rest of it, it all went wrong. And so we've gone from a season where we just won something to a transition season this season, because we are transitioning to something, but we don't know what it is, but it's still not working. And now we're going to have to go back into another transition season, the transition season that we should have had last season, to get rid of those players
No,
who
I
are effectively
don't
now
I don't know about
going
that.
ill. Jamie, you cannot have a centre-back partnership of Fabian Schär, who will be 35 next season, and Dan Burn,
No,
who will be 34. You
what I'm
can't.
suggesting is I don't think it's right to say you need another transition season. I think you could have a look at what this season has told you, and there's enough information there to put it right to say who needs to go, where you need to strengthen, have a hit list, get stuck in, and have a team bought that, like, I think a lot of people will freak out if people aren't bought very, very early on. But realistically, the sort of the time to buy will probably be after the World Cup. And they should be able to buy the players there to add to it if Eddie Howe stays in charge and if we're to trust him to turn this around. That next season should be a good one. Whether that's no Europe, which takes less game pressure off, or whether it's one of the lesser European competitions, in which case that's a very obvious thing to aim to win. So I don't think it needs to be. I mean, I know what you're saying. If you're signing 6 or 7 players and expecting them to be in the first team, you might have a bit of a bedding in process. Okay, that might cost you a little in like August, September maybe, but yeah, you're not going to need another season like this, and if we do, bloody hell. But I'm just bringing back into the comments. Right, I've got this off Becca. Now, I'm sure last week's show, Becca was Becca DJ, because I did quietly wonder at myself if she's a real DJ. But there's been a name change there. Now, I don't know if
For the viewers.
someone's playing a prank on her.
Just stop. Just before you go any further, just stop.
Yeah. Carry on,
All
please.
right, okay.
Just read
I
the
don't need
message.
you to nanny me. I know.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Are you
You
forgetting
always do.
you're trained here? Right, anyway, Becca says, Piff don't understand how big the game was today. How doesn't get it? 70% of the team don't seem to play. And that is a massive thing, which I guess you touched on earlier, Hutch. You just don't see it as being what it should be seen as. Is like that game was, it was a chance, I think, not to put everything right, but I think when we come off losing by 7 at Barcelona, which is, it's Barcelona, but it was a bit humiliating, getting a lot of stick. Everybody to a man probably thought, if we beat Sunderland, we'll sharp forget about this. And now it's just kind of like the defeat's kind of got the 7 goals at Barcelona as an added element of it. And here we are, pouring over yet another one.
Yeah, no,
Thank
Yeah,
you, Jody Dan, for the super chat there. He said, Amanda murdered, exit was the start of the downfall. And that's it, isn't it?
I agree. Yeah.
Somebody driving the decision, somebody. And Eddie Howe worked well with them and he did his bit, but they went out and got the deals done. No one seemed interested in that in a while. I'll always say Ross Wilson has not had a chance to prove himself. He's not been here for a transfer window, but he's not really got a chance. He's got to do it boof now, this time, and do it quick. He was I saw him speak the other week, and he said the phone never stops ringing. There's stuff happening, and we absolutely need to see that this summer. I've got a question for you, actually, along the comparison theme. Right, unfortunately, I'd imagine everybody listening to this, and I certainly know you two as well, have got quite a bit of a point of reference for defeats to Sunderland, especially at home. Where's this ranking for you guys? Is this one of the worst? Or is it one that we can deal with and move off? I'll give you a big positive of this one. And I hope people won't think I'm being ridiculous here. A big positive of this one is at least we will get the chance to put it right next season.
You are stretching there, my friend, for some kind of silver lining. I think the worst one for me was maybe one of the 3-0s. Maybe the one where Di Canio was in charge. Like, I think that was awful. And losing to Sunderland at home is the worst experience of going to a Newcastle game. Because the fans turn on each other. There's nibbles like in the home end towards each other. People are just angry, annoyed, and lashing out. Yeah. But I think I saw people actually throwing punches at each other in the home end in that one, and that's always the lowest. Like I think when it gets down to that level. So I think I can't remember which of the 3-0s it was, but I think
is that the one? Is that also the one where Adam Johnson scored? Like, was it one or two of them?
Could be.
He scored in one of them only, I think. But I don't remember exactly who scored for them. But that was the one that came. They've been lucky, actually. We mentioned last week about playing them just after a big European game. So we'd had that 1-1 draw with Benfica, which we mentioned. And we hadn't lost to Sunderland at that point in a very long time. And I think you're right to call that one out, Timon, because it was quite an unexpected 3-0 home defeat. And it was the first of what would be 6 in a row. Di Canio did his knee slide. And then, I mean, in those 6 wins, they went through Di Canio, Gus Poyet, Dick Advocaat, Sam Allardyce. They just kept changing the manager every time, didn't it? They were... when the derby was around the corner, so they would win it.
And then they'd win it, yeah. You've got a super chat there from Gav House.
Yeah, we'll jump on that one, yeah.
But yeah, it's just it's the worst side of everything. I remember that we beat Chelsea at home one year just before Christmas. Joe Willock scored. Might have been the year before last. Curled one into the top corner, and the atmosphere in town afterwards was just buzzing. It was immense. Christmas, just before Christmas as well. It was so good. This is the other end of that. Like that good feeling just disappears out of the town, and it just feels awful. Like it's just not a nice place to be. So, I think that 3-0 is probably one of them. So, sorry, go ahead with the one.
Yeah, sorry, we're going Gav super chat there. So going from the Champions League, spending 250 million. To losing out and finishing mid-table, do you think Eddie deserves another season? I think it's a big point, I think, about the money spent, because any other season, when ironically there was achievements, it was done with spending a lot less than rivals, but certainly... And you had the thing as well where every signing was a good one. You could look back and say, well, he's been all right, he's been brilliant, he's been transformative. And I think the big spend, the 250 million spend this summer, albeit offset by the big FIFA Isak, is kind of what's sticking in the throat a bit that we haven't gone on. So
the only thing is right. Is sorry, go on, Joe.
Just to Gav's question, do you think he deserves another season?
Well, yeah, because. Let's put that 250 million into context, because 250 million in the Premier League now probably isn't that much. It's 5 players, isn't it? Essentially,
it's 5 Midland players, isn't it? Probably.
Well, exactly. But also the level of players that we've had in the team is better than I've experienced at Newcastle in my time. Apart from your standout players throughout those years of Mike Ashley, which was your Denver Bars, your Kabais, your Hatton Ben Arthurs, like the real level of players. But now, like our baseline of players has gone up, and to get players in that fit into that system, if they don't work, they're going to quickly look bad. And I think, I was worried about Ramsey, but I think he's actually come quite good, and I think you need that player in your squad.
So I think yes is what you're saying there to the Eddie Howe thing.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, I think he's going to get another season, because just finished. All of that 250 isn't wasted.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think some have time, some have been okay, but
yeah, we're looking at Wissa. I think is the main issue at the moment.
But is that unconditional as well? If we end up 15th and do terrible in these last few games, no Europe, you still think Eddie Howe absolutely deserves to remain in charge?
If he loses the dressing room, that's a different problem, right?
Well,
We th-
that's you don't know that, do you? Could be lost now. Could be.
Well,
Yeah.
I think you can tell, like Ten Hag, things start coming out of the dressing room, and things like the Wissa thing worry me. So if he's going off and liking
Yeah.
Sunderland posts, that is there a discipline relationship issue there, and does that leak into the other players? And I think actually Isak was probably well liked by a lot of the team as well. So taking him out and the way he left at the start of the season, I think impacted some of the team. If he loses the dressing room, then yeah, unfortunately that's it. Because it happened to, I think, did it happen to Sir Bobby as well? I mean, I know results weren't great for him,
I
but
think there was a bit of that with certain factions in the dressing room.
yeah, I think that as soon as that starts happening, that's untenable. So yeah,
Hutch, what's your answer to this?
I don't know how many times I need to repeat myself. If he stays, he stays. If he goes, he goes. I'm not really bothered. Like,
That's
if he stays, I'll
you should have
support.
said that in French, Hutch. You know, what's the problem?
whilst smoking a cigarette,
Yeah.
and just going,
Just be laissez-faire.
yeah,
There's like, I know I'm being slightly apathetic here, and as Simon's already pointed out, but I'm just tired. Like, I'm tired of this season. I'm tired of like the whole. I'm tired of I got really annoyed last time, basically, when he came out and said, "Oh, we'll improve next time," and then he's basically come out and said the same thing. And yeah, apparently he's quite emotional when he's basically saying the same things that he always says. But at the same time, right? He doesn't get the derby. He just doesn't. Like, let's face it, right? The Northeast, both Sunderland and Newcastle, we are though. Like the whole of the Northeast is probably a more emotional place than quite a lot of the rest of the country. Like there is like there's an element of like poverty and stuff and all the rest of it in the.
Are you calling our
Hang on,
entire
no.
region- Are you calling our entire region high maintenance?
I'm not saying high maintenance. I'm just saying there is a level of emotionality when it comes to these kinds of things in particular, and he doesn't seem to have grasped it. He doesn't seem to understand it. Like, you want to beat your rivals because you want to be able to turn around and say, out of everything that's gone on, we're the best in the Northeast, and for so long, like we've been. Every time we've played them, other than that FA Cup game, we've just not turned up, and it is so emotionally draining when you put everything into, like, I know, Simon, you went out yesterday in York with your uni mates, and Jamie, you went out with Emma. I was like, at home, I was really nervous. I was like, Jesus Christ, it's the derby tomorrow, like, and, it's that whole thing, isn't it? It's like, and
I hate.
Simon, let me finish.
Sorry.
Bobby Robson said it, and Keegan said it. Like, we go to work, we work hard. At the weekend, we just want to enjoy the football. But this match in particular, you want to be able to turn around and go, they tried, they really did it. They worked hard, they got the result. And when that happens, when this happens, like the 3-0s, the 6 in a row, and this one, it's so difficult to, like, and he doesn't get it. And I'm not angry. I'm just shattered.
Yeah,
that was a big gripe of mine with Pardew. We did not get the derby, and I thought Howe did. I thought Howe had a really good connection with the fan base and the mentality and stuff. And obviously, we turned up and played very professionally in that FA Cup game, and won quite comfortably. But both these games against them have been unacceptably poor performances this year, and they've not been isolated incidents. So for me, again, jumping back to Gav's question, I'm probably closer to what Hutch said, in that I think you've got, if you look over Howe's sort of 3 good seasons and what he can do, as long as there's a plan, if he's part of that plan, I'm not averse to that. But I don't feel strongly that he should be in position either. And I think he probably will be. I've still got a suspicion that they may do enough in those few games and things might fall kindly. And we might get like a Conference League spot and it'll be painted as mission accomplished because we're back in Europe. But it's critical this summer. This next year, we could either revert to what we were last year, what we were in 23, where we were in the top 4, where we were challenging for trophies. Or it could be a full season of this, only worse, without the Champions League and without a couple of our better players. I think Tonali and Livramento will go, and I am worried about Bruno and Hall. But
shame to lose Lewis Hall. He's so good. He's my favourite player at the moment, I think.
That's only because Shah's injured, Simon.
It's because Shah's injured, absolutely, yeah. Also, shout out to Geordie Dan for the Green Mile reference. I'm tired, boss. Dog tired. I think that was a good shout.
I do feel like that, to be fair. I just feel I'm
tired now.
I'm ready for my bed.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
look,
Yeah, it is a massive summer.
That's quite a nice balanced comment here from a Sunderland fan. I've subbed to it and speak. I'm a Sunderland fan. You lot deserve better. The Mags let you down today on a day where nothing but perfection is acceptable. First half was NUFC, yeah. Second half, they fumbled. And that's it, you know, if like... Because I think Sunderland were really bad at the very start. And that's it, we threw it. Sunderland weren't in the game until we let them have the ball, sat deep, didn't probe them, and suddenly they thought, oh, hang on, we can get into these. And it's, again, coming from behind.
Yeah. Yeah, it happened again. I've little side tangent rant about public transport this weekend because I've had to bus it everywhere because the Network Rail decided to shut down every train line between York and Newcastle. So I spent a good 8 hours of my life on buses this week, and on the bus back this afternoon after the match, after all the Sunderland fans had been cleared out, got on a bus away down back to Darlow, and like everybody was knackered. There was plenty of Newcastle fans on there, a few other people going about their daily lives, and we stopped off in Durham. And one Mackham got on the bus with a carrier bag of cans, giving it the big one. Like he was by himself, but he was suddenly the loudest person in the world. And like he started off and he saw me in my Newcastle shirt, and I just looked out the window and just ignored him. But there was another lad, and he had to sit down next to another lad in Newcastle shirt, and he started going at him. And the Newcastle guy I could hear was just talking through his teeth like that, going, "Yeah, but you've got lots of empty seats." And I'm like, "Just don't, mate. Just don't bite. Just leave it." By the end of it, he was actually all right. But it's just, I felt jealous of that feeling, like just that win, and just sat in there, puffed up chest. And then he was giving it like a bit of sympathy as well. I was going, "Oh, it's all right. Like we're all from the same region." I'm like, "Oh, just get lost. Like, well done." Yeah.
Did the Newcastle fans say there's this bloke on the radio says that region's full of highly strung over emotional papers?
Well, I don't know if Hutch is projecting something there either as well. But yeah, no, he didn't mention that. No.
I did think I knew this might be a little bit, downbeat motive. I didn't think Hutch would have a go at me and you for having social lives on Saturday for a start, and then at the entire feast as well for not being his cup of tea or whatever he said.
I'm not having a go at you. I'm just pointing out that you guys distracted yourselves and I didn't. I distracted myself worrying about this match, and apparently it was a legitimate worry.
Well, I did message you. I messaged you all when I got in last night. I said I've had a great day out in York. I do hope Newcastle don't ruin this tomorrow.
Hang on.
And do you know what I said? What I said?
I'm going to tell you what he did. When I got there today, he was he somehow twisted you saying that to if we lost, it would have been your fault.
That's yeah.
Probably
Okay.
in
Whatever.
inflammatory comments.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That
sure.
that's your. Do you know you earlier on you were talking about you having some form of weird like prophetic ability when actually you just be Captain Hindsight, right? That there was your prophecy of us screwing this up, and
Yeah.
I would just like to say, right, you sitting on the bus for like half an hour, not wondering whether you were going to get to the match or not, was my favourite part of the day.
Oh,
Yeah.
thanks, mate. Yeah, cheers for that. Yeah.
My-
So you're
my
not how out
favourite
anymore. You can't be how out anymore if you think I'm the reason we lost the game today.
I'm Simon stuck on a motorway. I'm Simon stuck on a motorway.
Oh, that was bad though. I almost want to send the picture of Google Maps I sent you guys with the big red closed road sign that came up.
My favourite part of the day was after the game when we got sat in a upstairs bit of a pub and we just watched drunk people staggering past outside for a while and like
Yeah.
just
But do
a lot of that
you know
going
what?
around.
Do you know after you left, right? There was because we're in the Grill, right? And the Grill is one of my favourite pubs in Newcastle, sponsorship, however. And this lass walked past, and she was so drunk. And do you know the steps from the Royal Theatre? She just fell down them.
yeah.
There's only 2 steps, and she just went bang.
Like seriously, like unacceptably drunk. And then, and you two don't know this, then Gary Lineker walked past.
No.
Yeah, actual Gary Lineker. But if you think,
Wow.
like people were stopping him for selfies, so he was in Newcastle today. I wonder if he might have been doing something with Shearer. But there's an exclusive. If anyone listens to the rest is football, Gary Lineker will, I'm sure, drop in tomorrow that he was in Newcastle today.
What's the name of that pub that does pizza as well? Where we've sat in late one night, directly opposite the train station, Central Shaker.
Yeah, Central Bar and Shaker.
I was walking past there going up to get the bus, and someone just pulled up in a Rolls Royce and parked outside there and went in for a drink. And I didn't see their face, but I thought it must have been someone who's allowed to, who's got kind of rights to the city or
I'm
something
giving
like
you about 2 out of 10 for that anecdote.
that. Great, okay, fair enough.
I
That is
saw
fair enough.
someone who
Could have been famous. Yeah,
got out
absolutely.
of a car.
Should have
I thought
started with that,
about
and then you do Gary Lineker, because that would have been a better audio to do those anecdotes.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're here
Yeah,
now.
the main thing about that I took from seeing Gary Lineker was that I knew it was him.
Yeah, yeah, much better story. Did you speak to him?
No, well, like I say, we were upstairs in that mezzanine
Oh,
thing,
yeah.
and I sort of did a little thing in my head, like, can I pelt outside, get a selfie, take
He would have just legged it, seeing you running at him. He would have gone, "Oh Christ, it started! Go, 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 go!"
Well, that's it. He looked like he was just on his own, just walking down Grey Street. I'm assuming.
It's a bold move.
I was going to say to get a train, but yeah, he was, and people were stopping him, and he was really nice about it. So there we go. But I think I'm going to just bring up another comment from Becca, initials to be confirmed, because like I think it aligns a little bit with what you said, Simon. Because she's saying my dad was in the stack today. He said people were raging mad. I think the scales have tipped against Howe today. And this is the thing, it's like the game finishes, the team, then they went off the pitch eventually, which we'll get to in a minute. They go home, they get a private chef there, they go away on international duty. I was going to say they go to Dubai for a week, but that's perhaps politically sensitive at the minute. But, you know, they go wherever the best places in the world are and have spa breaks with their wives and put stupid photos on Instagram and TikTok. And it's us that has to put up with that, because it is like I had my son with me, and we were walking out of the ground, and it was like a deathly silence. Everyone's in this filthy mood, but it also feels a little bit like the atmosphere is crackling, and you just need a bit of a touch point, like someone to bump into somebody or somebody to say the wrong thing, and this like fists will start flying. And it's us that has to deal with that, and it's us that has to deal with the people on the bus and the people at work. We have to bear the brunt of their poor performance, and they can probably just wash it off. As you said, a lot of them think it's just another game, it seems.
Well, we've been there before, like as a part of those 6 in a row, those 3-0s. Like when you walked outside in those games, there were fists flying. There were quite
Aye.
literally fists flying. So
Right,
like,
awesome.
I mean, I still remember being in the Irish Centre on the top floor,
Oh yeah.
watching that kickoff, and it was horrendous. And
Yeah.
like, but this is what I mean about like the emotionality. Like people really struggle with it at times, and they've been looking forward to this and also dreading this to the extent that it just comes out as like anger. And yeah, you can say that people probably should be more in control of their emotions, but sometimes it's really like I am today. I am absolutely wrecked from just, and
I've got
it's
some, I've got some breaking news for you as well, Hutch, which will really improve your mood. I've just seen from 2 hours ago, and I don't know if people knew this before the game, but I've just seen it. Newcastle's Barnes set to replace Eze in the England squad.
Yeah.
If
he was
anybody was
up there.
at the
He was absolutely
exactly,
up there.
if
He
anybody
was
was at the
totally
game from
rubbish.
England today, they would have changed that decision because that's awful.
I
Yeah,
mean,
Got the most players in the England squad now. With
Which-
six.
right? One
normally
of the
that's
things that
great.
really, really grated on me today was, people been saying, oh, Vultard is not a midfielder, all the rest of it. He put Barnes through in the box, and he couldn't outpace Luke O'Nien to get that goal. Like, he's so... He runs up the wing, and he just stops, and it stops everything. And
Today, like, yeah.
no... No,
I just did Lee talk sense in the comments there. I completely agree with that sentiment. By the way, it's just I thought it was funny the fact that Barnes got picked for England considering his performance today. But
Oh,
anyway.
well, I see. Like Lee talks sense. He says, "Who gives a fudge about England?" He said that wasn't the word he
Exactly.
used.
No, he used a different word. But
Who gives a
a
fiddle about?
wudge. Oh,
That's. I think everyone's kind of.
who gives a tummy tank about England?
yeah,
You know.
absolutely. Yeah.
Because we actually had that discussion as well, didn't we? Because obviously the World Cup, I'd love England to win it, but I think I would swap England winning the World Cup for us getting a slightly better result in one of the games against Sunderland next season. Never mind Newcastle winning an actual trophy.
Yeah.
Oh,
I have never been happier in a football stadium as when Newcastle won the cup last year, and I don't think watching England win a World Cup on TV would be anywhere close to how I felt.
Absolutely not.
it
No.
doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like a sort of win for you. I don't think when your whole entire country's celebrating it as well. It's like, you and 60, 70 million other people. So it's kind of, yeah. But I was on the 9:30 show the other night, and it's a very difficult one for the Americans to understand because they're kind of like so polarized in patriotism that nothing comes across the country. Nothing comes ahead of the country, so it's whereas I guess they've been a country for what, like 400 years, and we've been kicking around for a couple of millennia, and we've very much honed our own identity. And
Our
then
rivalry with Sunderland probably outdates their country.
that's right. Yeah, I think, and it obviously said slightly jokingly, but it's true. But we're not bashing anyone. Just saying it's the way it is here, isn't it? And I think that's a big part of why the Premier League's so successful, because every club has a strong identity of its own that people can sort of tap into and find out about, and goes back 150 years or whatever. So yeah, I like, and even if I was sort of bang into England, I think even the staunchest fan has got to see a couple of friendlies against Uruguay, and I don't even know who the other one is doesn't exactly stir the juices regardless. You'll just be watching it hoping the Newcastle players don't get injured, won't you? Right, we're coming to a close now, so is there anything else? Let's check any of the starred comments. McGilly Face says, we don't deserve to be in Europe, we couldn't turn up for the derby. Now, interesting, because I think this is probably right. It's nothing about this season has suggested, oh yeah, they're going to be playing European football. I suppose when kind of half the Premier League's getting into Europe, it's a bit of a lower bar, but we'll see what happens. But we're going to have a little look in next week's show when there is no Newcastle game to look back on at the European connotations a bit and talk about that when, you know, we've got a bit of perspective because, well, you know, those of us that are highly emotional, extremely difficult northeasterners who struggle to contain their emotions and behaviours are obviously still reeling from today's game. I don't know, Simon, if your time living up here has got you an honorary attitude like that or not, but
yeah, close to it. I've worked with enough of them to know that there's a difference, and I think that that was enough. Also, just losing to them.
I'm going to close here on a word of advice to everybody, right? I'm going to tell everybody how to handle the next few days. If MORTEMs come to you to crow, this is very, very important. If you see MORTEMs at work, at school, out and about, MORTEMs on your socials who you've not spoken to in 10 years, do not rise to them. Say things along the lines of, yes, I thought you deserved to win. We were really poor, but we'll go again next year, eh? Their victory in this is you reacting. Do not react. Count to 10. Find coping mechanisms in your head. Watch a jolly film tonight. I'm watching Jerry Maguire. Make sure that you can level your mood out and just do not give them the pleasure. That's all we've got left. And on that bombshell, we've been the Newcastle Comparison. We will return in happier times because any time other than this is happier. Thanks everyone for listening, for super chats, for comments. Thanks Hutch for offending me personally and the entire region that I'm from. Thanks,
You know you're highly emotional.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ask me wife. Simon, thanks for managing to get off a bus long enough to be on the show tonight.
Yeah.
I'm away to write a match report on that event.
Oh God, good luck.
Get away from it, and then tomorrow I'm gonna pretend I don't like football. Thanks everybody, and good night.
Night lads. Cheers everybody.
Night.
Bye.